Hey guys, welcome back for another Manor Lords video with the Terminator, and today is the final day of the Manor Lords Demo. We've had an entire week of getting up close and personal with the serene nature, the hard-working peasants, and the many city building and management mechanics of this fantastic game. And I have to say, for me at least, it's been an absolute joy. There are of course a few bugs here and there, and of course optimization issues when you get to a certain size of population, but for a gameplay demo of essentially what is an early access indie developed game, I have to admit it's more polished and more entertaining than I expected, especially compared to some other AAA games. As this wonderful demo period draws to a close, I wanted to make a quick video recap on where the game development is and essentially what lies in store for the future of Manor Lords, including the steps that need to be taken for release and potentially what that release will look like when it happens. So let's get started. If the Manor Lords demo showed us anything, it's that the game is rooted in city building and management first and foremost. When the release comes out, we'll have the warfare, the trade, the diplomacy, and development aspects of the game to experience as well, but what this demo shows us is that the foundation of this game is built on a society of medieval people who rely on local resources, production, and public order to live and thrive. All the other features are secondary to this. You can't have a functioning army without a steady income into your coffers, and that comes from production and trade. You can't have technological, cultural, and societal development without building a growing town. And you certainly can't have diplomacy or trade if you have nothing of value to offer. So it all starts with what this demo shows here: resource gathering, city building, and people management. Now that being said, we're not being shown the full picture on this, of course. At most, you can reach a size of medium village, and the ambition is that in full release, that will develop into various levels of a town and then finally into a city. So if you think about it in those terms, we've essentially been shown roughly 1/3 of the total buildings we can have access to when this side of the game is complete. Just like any other city builder, as the town grows, I imagine we'll have access to jewelers, theaters, and eventually even large cathedrals, all feeding into the status of your city, the well-being of your people, and your capacity to trade or wage war. Speaking of war, of course, we're very excited about this side of the game. We've had plenty of images and videos to tell us warfare has been in development for a long time now, with customization options when it comes to armor, weaponry, banners, the types of formations your army can use when in battle. We've even had showcases of charging infantry and cavalry and archers firing down at the enemy. But all this is quite frankly old. Who knows where warfare is in the game at this point in time, and it's impossible to speculate on that fact. What we can talk about though is that this is probably here in the game, locked behind walls for us to wait in hungry anticipation. Just like the development tree with its many diverse branches of technological advancement that we can't just yet be able to tickle around with, it's not impossible to think that diplomacy features on the regional map, the religious mechanics of having a relationship with the church, or indeed the warfare aspect isn't already here, just not available to us in this build version of the game. It's also worth remembering that Manor Lords is in version 0.5, which could very well mean we're halfway in development to a fully released version. As it's always been an early access game, it's safe to assume that 0.5 is roughly towards the end of the alpha state of the game, with version 1.0 presumably gonna be released as a beta. That, to me anyway, has to mean that many of the features we've been talking about here are definitely present, just not ready to show off in demo. So the ultimate question then becomes, when is Manor Lords going to be released into early access? Looking at development retrospectively for a moment, the game got picked up by publisher Hooded Horse roughly just over a year ago. Since then, it's gone through an almost complete building redesign. The development team, which started off with one person, Slavic Magic, has been getting funding and help, which has sped up the process to a point where the game went into alpha testing roughly 6 months ago. And most importantly, Manor Lords got a demo release, which either means that there was a separate, smaller team of engineers working on creating a microcosm version of the larger game that can be easily marketed to gauge interest and generate a bit of excitement around the title, or this is the actual version of the game and we've been given a slice of the whole that gives us a brief view into what the core foundations of what Manor Lords will be like on release, to gauge interest and excitement of course, but mainly to get feedback, which I think is the more likely scenario here. This isn't a AAA studio with budgets on budgets for marketing for one, and there's tons of bug fixing and general improvement that the dev team have said they're working on right now, which tells me this is the actual game and not a smaller purpose-built version, which is often the case with demos. And if that's the case, then we may be closer to release than we think. The demo is relatively stable. The bugs and issues that many people have raised are minor in nature and not game-breaking. And by all accounts, we've only been shown a sliver of the features of the game to essentially drive a bit of excitement for the rest of it. The general rule of thumb for games that have demos is that release will happen roughly 3 to 12 months after the demo. But the fact is, it's been 2 years since the game was first announced back in July 2020, and so far all we know about the current version is that it's 0.5, which could mean it's halfway in development. It could take another 2 years before we get an actual release. My personal opinion is Manor Lords is an early access game, which means when it actually releases it will be in beta. Given the stable and functioning state of this alpha version we've been playing for the last week, I'd give it another 6 months before it goes into beta and it releases into early access for the public. That additional funding from launching into beta that it will get will continue its brilliant development to polish off and finish various features, quality of life changes, and more, so that in the next couple of years, Manor Lords fully realizes its vision of a medieval city building game like we've never had before. Overall, I think the demo has been a massive success. The Steam player count on day one was over 13,000 players, which is incredible for an alpha game like this. The reception has been overwhelmingly positive, which is a really good, healthy sign of development as well, likely motivating the development to push even further, and hopefully anyway, we get an early access version ready to release in the next 6 months. I think for obvious reasons, we need to manage our expectations, of course, as it could take up to another 2 years for all we know. But I think given the track record, the progress made, and the state of the demo, we have a lot to be hopeful for, and Manor Lords has a very bright future ahead of it. And that's it for today, guys. Manor Lords has been free for a week, and today, the 10th of October, is the last day to try it out. So get in there, get into Steam, and if you haven't already, check it out. I promise you will not regret it. There's also a Discord server where you can keep up to date with news, developments, announcements, and speak to other like-minded players, both of which I've dropped down below in the video description. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, do leave a like and let me know your thoughts or questions in the comment section below. I would love to hear what you think about the Manor Lords demo and the future of this brilliant game. Don't forget to subscribe for more strategy game content, gameplay, and news, and thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.